You are now listening to AB on the Unpopular Opinion Podcast.
Okay, I'm reloaded. Let's go, man. It's another episode of Unpopular Opinion Podcast. This is your boy AB on the mic. I'm so sorry to the people that have been listening to this podcast and it's like, yo, what is going on? Um, you gotta blame Catalina for that. The OS on the Mac, the new upgrade Catalina does not coexist well with the software that I use to record my videos. So I use Audacity to record my videos if y'all don't know. And Catalina does not allow me to record with my microphone. So if it sounds different, if it sounds a little choppy, I don't even know how this is going to sound. But I had to get that out of the way in my little introduction just because I'm just like, damn, like this held me up from, delivering what I need to deliver. But it's all right. We here now. I'm going to go ahead and hop right into it, man. I know that I'm supposed to cover the All-Star game. It feels so far removed right now by now. So I'm gonna cover it, but I'm gonna do it like not as in depth as I would because I got so many things to cover. So much happened in the sports world and so many things that I want to cover in this one podcast, and I'm gonna try to like mesh it all together like one little podcast. Not little, it's probably gonna be an hour long or maybe more, but I'm going to try to mesh that all together. And right now, the first thing that I'm going to cover is the Antonio Brown interview with The Breakfast Club. If you have not checked that out, please go check that out. Antonio Brown, if you don't know who that is, you should know who that is if you listen to my podcast. But if you don't, because I know there's some people who don't, Antonio Brown is an all-pro wide receiver. And when I say all-pro, that means, basically like the top two or top three at your position. Like you are, literally one of the best players in the world. When you say all pro, all NBA for the NBA, things like that, you're talking about the top two or three at your position, depending on what we're talking about. But all pro wide receiver, multiple times, all pro wide receiver, Pro Bowler, which also means that you were the best, in that season. You get to go to Hawaii and play with the best of the best. It's a fun time. He is, one of the best at his position, definitely. Still today, even though he's been removed out of the league for like about a year now. Like I think he would still be on the field, get on the field, and be a top 5 wide receiver today. He's legendary for his work ethic and how he performs on the field. Just electric athlete. Guy has some of the best hands in the league. Nicknamed Tony Toe Tap. Mr. Call Guy. It's Antonio Brown, man. He's one of the greatest. But as of late, we know that off the field, he's been dealing with a lot of things. Sexual assault cases. Erratic behavior. Cursing out his GM, his former GM from the Oakland Raiders, having issues with teammates, Juju Smith-Schuster, Ben Roethlisberger from the Steelers. So this guy has, kind of, in a lot of ways, a lot of people would say messed up his opportunity in the NFL. A lot of people believe that he will never be back in the NFL. To be reinstated into the NFL, he has to deal with some of these, legal cases that has been hindering him from getting back into the NFL. So when I was listening to the interview, of course, a lot of the things that you hear in the media, you start to believe them, especially if they are happening over and over and over. And some of the things that have been said in the media, has been accurate on his own account, just because, he's posted a lot of things on Instagram. He's posted a video of him, being messy with the police. and disrespectful with the police in front of his kids and calling his baby moms her name and things of that nature. So it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. He's going into doing rap now and doing music, which there's nothing wrong with that. But it kind of, from the outside looking in, it's like, okay, well, what is your real intention? What is your real interest? Do you want to be a hip hop star now, or do you want to be back into the NFL? Do you want to be a pro athlete? So, going into it, I was a little thrown off. I was a little hesitant to kind of believe the things that he'd been saying. But as I dove deeper into the interview, I started listening more, started engaging. I really thought it was a good interview. I thought the questions that were being asked by Charlemagne and everyone up there, I thought were really good, thought-provoking questions. I respect and like that Charlemagne is, very admitting openly about his, about mental health and the fact that he goes to therapy and things of that nature. I really respect that. So, they went into a lot of those things. Overall, like I said, I thought it was a good interview. Antonio Brown did have a recent apology to Ben Roethlisberger, and I thought that was good. I thought that he was taking ownership, which we didn't see from Antonio Brown in the past, that he was taking ownership. Now, because some people say, hey, he's just putting on an act for the interview. Could be. But I believed a lot of what Antonio Brown was saying personally, and that's for whoever listens to that interview. You have to say for yourself, or you have to, ask yourself at the end of the day, like, man, do I believe this guy or don't I? But I thought that he was taking ownership for the mistakes that he made, and the way that he talked, you could kind of tell, like, it's different from the Josina Anderson interview, which actually, we don't know when that interview was, but we know when it came out. It probably was about 2 or 3 weeks ago now. An ESPN special interview sit down with Antonio Brown featuring, and the interviewer was Josina Anderson. I thought she did a phenomenal job as well. It was about 30 minutes long, I believe, something like that. And some of the things that Antonio Brown was saying in that interview, I thought, man, like, this dude is messing himself up. Like, these aren't the best way to answer these questions. I can remember one in particular, one question that Josina was asking him was about the Vontaze Burfict hit. And did he believe that he had CTE? And Antonio's response was kind of like, well, I still look good, so, CTE is not really affecting me. And Josina kind of laughed and was like, well, CTE doesn't have anything to do with your looks. And so it was just like a really ignorant response. I didn't like that response there. But a lot of the things that he was saying in the Breakfast Club interview, I don't know, because he talked about this as well. He talked about putting himself in different circles, or, having different people around him now than previously, than he had before. And I thought that was really the main thing. Even while everything was transpiring, I was saying, like, man, like, Antonio needs to get different people around him. He needs to have people who will really hold him accountable and, check him on some of his behavior. And I think that that's starting to happen. So I think they're starting to shed light, and he's starting to see things a little differently. And I like that. I like that Antonio is starting to seem like he's on the right path. Another thing that he talked about was hiring a life coach. Going to therapy. He talked about going to therapy. So I thought that was really profound. I was like, yeah, like, I like that. Like, that's good. Like, I think that that's good for him. I think that those are things he needs. He talked about still conversing with John Gruden and Tom Brady. He talked about, the desire to play with Tom Brady. Of course, we don't know where Tom Brady is going, and I'll dive into that a little bit later too, about Tom Brady and the Patriots, and whether I believe that he will be back with the Patriots next year or not. Well, I'll say it now. The reports that we're hearing about Tom Brady is that he won't be back with the Patriots. I think a lot of people already believe that. Now, where he will go, we're not sure. Whether Antonio Brown will follow, or will he even be able to follow where Tom Brady goes, we're uncertain. I don't think he'll be with the Cowboys. I know a lot of reports are swirling about that. I think that is starting to happen. I think that this is my theory on why I think that the Cowboys just sprang up all of a sudden. Over the past week or week and a half, we've been hearing these reports about Tom Brady being a Cowboy, and we know that Dak Prescott is having those contractual issues with Jerry Jones, and they're not agreeing to the same number. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me dive back into the Antonio Brown, and then I'll get back to that. But anyway, I just have to make a little mental note that I need to come back to the Tom Brady thing. I'll dive into that, I promise. AB explanation on the Juju situation. He dove into that into this interview. He talked about, where his point of view from those kind of back and forth that he had with Juju over Instagram. If you don't know about that, basically, Juju Smith-Schuster is another wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's still currently on the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's a young guy. I think he'll turn 22 this year, 23 this year. But basically, Antonio Brown was kind of like a mentor figure, big brother type to Juju. And when they played on the Steelers together, a lot of people were saying that Antonio Brown didn't like that Juju got the team MVP honor for that season, Antonio Brown's last season with the Steelers. Juju actually got the team MVP honor instead of Antonio Brown, even though it's kind of arguable. You could say, like, Juju's stats, they were similar to what Antonio Brown had, but because of a lot of the things that were already happening in the media and starting to reflect badly on Antonio Brown, I think that Juju won it rightfully. I'm not saying that he didn't win it rightfully, or that, it could have, or that, like, Antonio just got completely swiped of that award. But it just made Antonio look bad, because he kind of came at Juju in a way that was really disrespectful in a lot of people's eyes. And Antonio Brown talked about that and talked about his point of view from that. And once he explained, I was like, you know what, like, I get that. I understand, like, where he's coming from. Now, should he have handled it a little differently? Yeah, he should have. But he could have DM'd him. He could have called him privately. They could have talked about that, and man to man. But they brought it public, and here we are. So AB talked about that. They talked about mental health and surrounding him around the right people. I already talked about that a little bit, but I thought that was really important in that interview. I thought it was really important for not just them to talk about it, him and the rest of everyone on the Breakfast Club staff, but I thought it was important for us as the audience to hear them talk about that. That's really important. AB talked about trauma and being from Liberty City, Florida. Like, I don't know I've never been to Liberty City, Florida, but I can only imagine what it's like, or what he had to endure, or what challenges he had to face to be the type of player that he is today, and change the trajectory of his family's life, and working so hard to get to this point. A lot of people who were AB fans didn't want to see him screw that up. He screwed up an opportunity to make, I think it was like $40 million from the Oakland Raiders or something like that. All he had to do was stay with the team for another week or so. But because the relationship got so rocky straight from the beginning, it just they ended up cutting him, and he ended up losing out on a lot of money. So that, he talked about that. He talked about the trauma from being from Liberty City, which a lot of people don't talk about when it comes to football players. They don't talk about real mental trauma that happens in a lot of people, not just football players, but just being black in America, just being a pro athlete, being a black pro athlete in America. That is really we're hitting new waves in terms of talking about what they go through in a mental headspace in America as an athlete. We're just starting to cover that and talk about that. So it's good that Antonio Brown's bringing light to that and making that more of a conversation. Like I said, taking ownership for the IG Live situation I discussed earlier, the disrespect of the police, the mother of his children, things like that, which I think that they're back together now. So that could be a good thing for him. Um, Not being able to defend himself in legal battles. He talked about a lot of he say, she say. Anybody can just say something to the media and it be taken as truth. And he can't even verbally defend himself because he can't talk about the case. So a lot of those things, man, I thought were really good. Like I said, if you have time to check out that interview, go check out that interview. It could or could not. It could justify and kind of enhance what you already believe about AB, or it could change your mind as it did for me a little bit when it comes to Antonio Brown. So go check that out, man. I thought it was good. Something definitely worth checking out. Let's go ahead and talk about the Saturday events of the All-Star weekend. So the 3-point contest, let's go ahead and talk about that. I thought that was really amazing. The 3-point contest has become like really one of the best events of All-Star weekend. I think for a while it became kind of dry because it was just like, man, like, we just watching guys shoot threes, but it has really become an event of real excitement. And as a person who, when I played basketball, I shot a lot of threes and I was, a shooter. Like, I enjoy watching the 3-point contest a lot. I've always kind of enjoyed it, but as of late, they've been, right up there as the best event in All-Star weekend. So I thought it was great. It was really entertaining. We talking about some of the best 3-point shooters in the NBA and guys that don't really get a lot of, national attention when it comes to the media. You got guys like Bertans he used to play with the Spurs, now he plays with the Wizards. So you got a guy like that. You got a guy like Joe Harris, who plays for the Brooklyn Nets. You got a guy like Duncan Robinson, who's a young guy out of Miami, who will start getting more national attention, I believe. But, nobody's mentioning his name really that much in the NBA. You got Devontae Graham out of Charlotte Hornets, who, really nice player coming from the Charlotte Hornets. And we know guys like Trae Young, which is good. You got stars like playing in 3-point contests. Steph did it, Clay did it. Guys who are upper echelon in the NBA, top 20 players are playing in these 3-point contests or participating in these 3-point contests. You got Devin Booker, you got Buddy Hield, Zach LaVine, who winner of the dunk contest in previous years, has actually participated in 3-point contests. So in the first round, Trae Young actually only had 15, and I think that was a surprise to a lot of people. I know a lot of people who bet on these type of things. They probably had Trae Young as the winner, who was gonna win the whole thing. He only had 15. Devontae Graham had 18. He killed the middle rack. Like, he was off on the two sides, the corners and the wings, but that middle rack, I think he made all of his from the middle rack. So we know where his spot is in NBA games, right in the middle. Duncan Robinson, he had 19. Michigan product out of York, Maine. Duncan, he did his thing. Devin Booker was on fire. Like, Devin Booker, I gotta talk about Devin Booker for a second. Devin Booker is not just a shooter. Some of these guys are just a shooter, and that's all they are. They can't create for themselves. They can't create for others. They're not, what you would consider a star player. Devin Booker is a star player. He is, you may have never even heard that name if you're not an avid NBA fan. He was like, who is Devin Booker? Devin Booker out of Kentucky, played at the University of Kentucky, now plays for the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns is not a good team, so that's probably why you haven't heard that name. But Devin Booker is definitely a star in this league. He could do it all. He could score. He scored 70 in a game. What was that, last year? I think that was last year. It was either last year or the year before. But Devin Booker scored 70 in a game. That's the most since Kobe. Kobe's 81 game. So, Devin Booker can really catch fire at any time. An unstoppable force on offense. So, Phoenix is a young team. They're trying to, build from the ground up. But Devin Booker definitely is a cornerstone in this league. Will be a star for a very long time. Buddy Hield, he dropped 27. So, Um, and Devin Booker actually became an All-Star. That was one of the snubs. People were saying that he got snubbed and he should have been an All-Star. Damian Lillard actually got hurt right before the All-Star game, so Devin Booker ended up being initiated into the All-Star game. I think his first All-Star appearance of his career. So that ended up happening. Buddy Hield dropped 27. He had the third. At that point he had the third most threes made in the NBA. Buddy Hield plays for the Sacramento Kings. A really talented player. He has potential to be an all-star as well. He's not just a shooter. I mean, he can shoot for sure, but he's not just a shooter. I like Buddy Hield. I like his game coming out of Oklahoma. Davis Bertans, really good shooter, sharp shooter, leads the NBA in catch and shoot threes. Well, he led at that point. Killed his money rack, all five, and the boy had the sweet little KDs on. So Bertans was killing it out there. He dropped 26. Zach LaVine had 23. So he's not just a dunker. Zach LaVine reminds me of Kobe, actually. He has a lot of Kobe in his game. Like, he has that frame of like the 6'6", athlete, but he's not just an athlete. He will dunk on your head, but he will also drop 40 on you, as he did, I think, last night. In his previous game he dropped 40, or he had 41. But the Bulls are so bad. They're so bad. They're such a bad team. Like, they're terrible. Like, even watching them, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like, you could just tell the difference in talent level and flow and, coaching and, defensive intensity. They just don't have it. Like, Kobe White has been really impressive, though. Speaking of the Bulls, like, Kobe White, I think he dropped 33. They just played OKC. That's who they played. They played OKC, and Kobe had 33, and Zach had 41, and they still lost. So you talking about getting 74 points from two of your young players. Like, Kobe is a rookie, and they can't win. They lost to OKC, and OKC is a good team. I'm not saying that's a bad loss for them, but you would think that if you're getting 74 from two players, that you're probably going to come out and win that game, but they ended up losing anyway. So, Zach LaVine has a lot of those games where he's dropping 30, 40 points, and they still end up losing. So, and actually, Zach LaVine's 23 that he made in the three-point contest wasn't even enough for him to advance. That's how hot these guys were. Like, he needed 26 to avoid elimination. He got hot at the end, but it wasn't enough. Joe Harris was up next. He needed, again, 26 to advance, and he dropped 22. So still really good performances. These guys were shooting the lights out, but they needed 26 to advance just because Bertans had 26, Buddy had 27, and Devin Booker had 27. So those were the three to advance. Davis Bertans went up next. Was first up in the final round with the final three, and Davis Bertans had 22. In that round, he had 4 out of 5 on the money rack. So he had a really good performance. Dropped 22, 26 the first round, 22 the next round. Devin Booker was up next. That boy was like, if you watch it again, man, he was so focused. Like, you could tell Devin Booker wanted to win that award. Like, he was going for it. He was going at everybody neck, like, just mentally, in that mental state. He put himself in you could just tell on his face, like, he really wanted it. He looked crazy focused. And just his form, his shooting form, one of the prettiest in the NBA, man. To watch him shoot is a thing of art. Like, Devin Booker, definitely one of the best shooters and the prettiest shooting forms in the NBA. And it went down to the wire, man. It was like, Devin Booker dropped 26, and when he dropped 26, you're thinking it's over. It's like, man, like, all the pressure is on Buddy Hield, who was up next, and he was the final contestant. If he didn't make 27, it was over. The best thing he could do is tie at 26, but 26 is a lot of points. That's a lot of shots made. And what's crazy is it was kind of like a theatric movie type of ending. Like, Buddy Hield made 7 of his last 8. He started out slow, like, didn't make a lot of his shots in the beginning, but the will to win, the desire to win, the not giving up attitude, he dropped 27, and on his last shot he made it to win his first 3-point shootout contest award. So it was dope, man. It was a great moment for him. Great to see Trae Young and Devin Booker. If y'all probably seen those highlights on TV of them being hyped for Buddy, and Buddy is a big Kobe fan as well. I think he has 24. He wears 24, something like that, something in honor of Kobe. So it's great to see that. It was great 3-point contest. Great event. Next, the dunk contest. I know that everybody, I think for the most part, people agree. We know that, Aaron Gordon should have won the dunk contest, just like he should have won it last year. In my opinion, I think he should have won it last year, and I think he should have won it this year. And after the dunk contest, Aaron Gordon did announce that he will not do another dunk contest, and I agree with him. I'm just like, man, if y'all gonna smite his hand every time, if y'all gonna, just, I don't know, it just seemed crooked. It just seemed crooked. Like, y'all are not trying to get his man this award, obviously, no matter what he does. I think he had 5 straight 50s. Like, 5 straight 50. Like, what do you want him to do? Like, and these, like, I think there's one dunk that he did where I'm just like, okay, like, that probably shouldn't have been a 50. Could have been a 49 or 48. Yeah, when the TikTok girls came out, I don't know what the point of that was. Like, I don't know. Basically, some girls from TikTok, the app, came out into the middle of the court, and they just started dancing, and he jumped over Chance. Like, so they weren't even a part of the dunk. They were just like out on the court. So I don't know what the point of that was. But he jumped over Chance a few times, and I think at that point, Chance the Rapper, he jumped over him and had a midair spin. That was like a good dunk. It was a good dunk. I thought it could have been like a 48 or 49 though. I don't think it was a 50. But that's just because, like, he already had Chance out a few times before then. So let me just start from the beginning real quick. Dwight Howard came out. He did his Statue of Liberty dunk. I thought it was good. I thought it was more than a 41. I thought that dunk, could have got scored like a 44, 45, but whatever. I don't think it would have helped him advance anyway. Derrick Jones was up next, who actually was the winner of the dunk contest. Derrick Jones Jr. And this boy can fly, man. Like, I seen early, like, I knew he was gonna be in the dunk contest because even earlier in the season he had some crazy dunks, and I think last year too had some crazy dunks. So I knew it was just a matter of time before he participated in the dunk contest. He jumped over Bam, who was 6'9". I think Derrick Jones is like 6'6". But jumping over 6'9", like, he did push off on the shoulder a little bit. But, the thing with Derrick Jones is he dunked with power. Like, every dunk he did was with power. So it was dope just to, he just didn't have a finesse about him. And he's a slim dude, but he dunked so hard. Like, he missed the first dunk, but dunked over Bam on that second dunk. They scored him a 46. Pat Connaughton came out with the white man can't jump outfit. Real dope to see. I like that. He made a dunk on his first attempt, dunked over Christian Yelich, who is a baseball player. I think he's the NL MVP or something like that. But, he's 6'3". So I'm just like, you got a guy who dunked over a 6'9" guy, and then you got a guy who dunked over a 6'3" guy. And it was kind of like a basic two-hand dunk. It wasn't even real flair or with power or anything like that. It was just like a basic little two-hand dunk. They gave him a 45. I thought that could have been a 41 if you ask me. But, whatever. 45. Then Aaron Gordon, probably, I think, was the best dunk. Definitely the best dunk in the first round for sure. But he had a between-the-leg reverse two-hand dunk. It was sweet. Really nice dunk. It was a 50, of course. So that was that. Dwight Howard, on his next dunk, had the backboard lob. He had brought the Superman fit out. Had the Kobe patch in the middle. Nice little tribute to Kobe. I think they actually gave him more than what he deserved on that one. He gave him a 49 on that dunk. Pat Connaughton dropped a 50 on the next dunk. Reggie Miller said something real funny. I thought, he said he should just run up Giannis' back like on the dunk. I mean, Giannis is a long, looks like a raptor. What's those little? Yeah, he literally looks like a raptor. Like, dude is like so long, tall, not in the face, but just his body. Like, he just so long. Like, it's just crazy, man. Like, he's just like a giraffe on the court. But so he missed a few of his attempts, like his first few attempts. But he did jump over Giannis with the backboard tap. So he tapped the backboard, then dunked it in two hands. It wasn't clean, it wasn't flush, but still I thought it was a 50 dunk, and they gave him a 50. Derrick Jones on his next dunk got a 50. This one it started getting hot. It started picking up. A reverse 360 through the legs, coming from the right wing, and dunking with the left hand, and he dunked it hard. Like, just crazy dunks. I thought that was my favorite of his, was that second dunk, that reverse 360 through the legs. That was crazy. So this was when Aaron Gordon started bringing out Chance. He jumped over Chance, came from one end, spins midair, and dunks on the other end. That was crazy. Made it on the first attempt. That was an easy 50. I was like, okay, we know where this is going. Derrick Jones, Aaron Gordon at the end. And then they just started going back and forth, doing some crazy dunks. Derrick Jones jumped over two people. The second person didn't need to be there because the taller person was first, and then I think he was just trying to plug, people try to plug in some homies, give them some national spotlight. There was no reason for that second guy to be there. Cause the taller guy was, the first guy he had to jump over. And through the legs, he dunked through it was crazy. Yeah, he's doing some crazy stuff out there. And we don't know how tall those guys were, but it didn't even really matter because the dunks were so, they were so beautiful. They were great dunks. Like I said, this was the TikTok girl dunk, where he jumped over Chance, midair spin. Like I said, I thought that could have been a 49 or a 48. Derrick Jones' next dunk was off the backboard, jumped over someone through the legs with power. Like I said, all his dunks were with power. It's crazy. Aaron Gordon off the side of the backboard, catch and spin all in one motion. Fultz with the lob, Markelle Fultz. He could have took that jacket off because I feel like that messed up his lob the first time. But, still really nice dunk. Definitely was a 50. They gave him a 50. So they were just going back and forth. 50, 50, 50, 50. Kept doing all these different dunks. Aaron Gordon was like, man, this should be over. Because, every dunk I've had a 50. Like, which he did. Like, just 5 straight. And then at a certain point, they were just like, all right, like, this should just be a tie. But I guess the committee was just like, no, we got to pick a winner. So the judges were kind of, D-Wade was trying to walk off like, hey, like, it just should be a tie. Like, we're done here. They kept going back and forth. They were extending the time. So Derrick Jones did his one step in windmill dunk. So he was jumping from trying to get from the free throw line, but one step in windmill dunk. Chance and Chadwick gave him a 9, which I thought was good. I was like, okay, one step in, and it is a windmill, so it was impressive. But 48, okay, I'm cool with that. And then Aaron Gordon, who didn't really have any more dunks, he just was like, man, we've already dunked, I don't know, 6-7 times by that point. You only really prepare about 4 dunks for the dunk contest. And so, they already dunked 7 times. So he's like, damn, I'm running out of ideas. And so, they thinking about suggestions you could hear over the broadcast. And Kenny Smith talks about dunking over Taco Fall, who Taco Fall is like 7'7". 7'7", man. This dude is like, you talking about a giraffe. Like, that's a real life giraffe. And this dude brings Taco Fall out. Taco's like, nah, I'm not trying to do that. Like, I don't trust anybody jumping over me, which I don't blame him. And Aaron Gordon, even before the dunk, I'm just like, yo, this is just madness. This is crazy. If he does this, it's over. Like, if he dunks over Taco Fall, 7'7", it's over. Not only does he dunk over him, but he cleared him. Like, he didn't like push off, none of that. Like, dunk with 2 hands, hanging on the rim. I'm like, yo, it's over. Scotty, D-Wade, and Chadwick all gave a 9 for that dunk. So Aaron Gordon ended up having a 47. Derrick Jones ended up having a 48. It was robbery. It was robbery. Aaron Gordon definitely should have won that award. Even like thinking back, I'm just like, yeah, he should have won that award. There's no reason why Aaron Gordon should not have won that award. And not to say that Derrick Jones didn't perform well, because he did, but call a spade a spade. That should have been Aaron Gordon's award. So that's it for the dunk contest, man. The All-Star game was phenomenal, of course. Sunday is the event where, the best of the best play. And it was highly competitive. I like the new format that they had, where, in the fourth quarter, they had a goal to get to a certain number. I think the number was 157. Instead of saying, hey, we're just going to do the normal format of having a clock and, whenever the clock hits 0, that's the end of it. In this format is, hey, whoever gets to this number first. So I think they did 24 past the. So I think Giannis's team had 135, and so LeBron's team had to play catch up. I think they were like 9 down or 6 down or something like that. So they ended up locking it up, and it was a really competitive game. They were really playing defense. I like that they were, really showing that they really wanted it. And that's what needed to happen. The star players, the vets, the best of the best, they got to show that the All-Star game is worth something, and that we're not just competing for fun. We're not just trying to avoid injuries. Of course, you want to avoid injuries. You don't want to see people get hurt in the All-Star game, but you want to see these guys compete. You want to see them show effort. You want to see like the passion of the sport, the love of the game, like when it comes down to that. And I think, unfortunately, I know this isn't the all-be-all, but I think Kobe's passing definitely had an effect on how those guys play and the effort that they show. Giannis is going to show effort no matter what. Like, he had been doing that ever since he got into the All-Star game. In every game, he does that. He shows 100% effort. He goes hard. Russell Westbrook goes hard every game, no matter what. But to see the rest of the guys take it seriously as well, I thought was dope. And my boy Harden should have had the game winner. I know, I hated that call, but it's all good. AD ended up getting fouled on the last play. I thought LeBron was gonna take that shot. It was LeBron against Giannis. Giannis was guarding him at the top of the key, and they had the mismatch with AD in the post with Kyle Lowry, of all people. I don't even know how Kyle Lowry got switched onto him. But great play design. I think whoever designed that play, they did a good job. And, AD got fouled. He ended up missing the first free throw, which had me a little nervous. And then he made the second one. So that was the game. And so that was the All-Star game. Great game overall. I thought, like I said, highly competitive. Very entertaining. One of the best All-Star games we've had probably in the last decade, honestly. So if you got that on record, or if you can watch that, go back and watch that. It's a very entertaining game, very fun game. Okay, so let's discuss the next thing I gotta discuss. Let's discuss the Boston Celtics and the Lakers game. I did watch that game. I had time to actually invest in watch all of that game. That was a really good game. I think that might have been, even though I haven't watched a ton of games this season just because I haven't had the time, but that had to be one of the best games of the year. That game went down to the wire. I think it showed Tatum's growth. Man, Jayson Tatum is only 21 years old, which is crazy to think about, but Jayson Tatum, I want to call him a superstar, but I won't give him that title yet. He has to prove what he can do in this playoffs. I think this playoffs will show a lot about his status in the NBA. When I say superstar, I know everybody has different definitions of what a superstar player is in the NBA. But what I consider a superstar is someone that is top 10, top 15 player in the league. everybody isn't a superstar. Every team doesn't have a superstar. Some teams have very good players. Some teams have star players. Some teams have superstar players. And Jayson Tatum is right on that cusp between star and superstar. I would say Jaylen Brown and Gordon Hayward are very good players. I don't consider them star players, but one of the reasons why, and I don't think I put this on wax, but one of the reasons why I had the Boston Celtics as being the most competitive team to give, you know, the Milwaukee Bucks the most problems in the Eastern Conference is because of Jayson Tatum in large part. Jayson Tatum, I said early on in the season, Jayson Tatum had to take that next step. He had to be the guy who ended up being like the number one option on the team. And I think that's finally starting to happen. You could see Jayson Tatum's confidence. They actually just played the Jazz last night. So this Lakers game was, I think, on a Monday or a Tuesday. But Jayson Tatum's growth as a player really showed. I think he dropped 41 in that game or something. I can't remember. He had 33 last night. He had 33 and 11 last night. But he went off against the Lakers. And I think LeBron had 40. Let me go double check because I don't want to give y'all misinformation. But either way, man. And the thing about that game is Kemba Walker didn't play. So even though the Lakers won and they won in a 2-point victory, it's 112-114. Even though we won that game, I'm not feeling like really confident about it. I mean, they did their thing, but AD had 32 and 13. Numbers wise, it looked like he played great. I didn't like what I was seeing from AD just because, he had a lot of matchups. We had smaller guys on him, wasn't making easy attempts. He did get hurt in that game, but he stayed where his left shoulder was bothering him on a block. He blocked, somebody shot off the backboard, and then he came up kind of holding his shoulder in the end of the timeout, or his elbow. And at the end of the timeout, he was kind of nursing that a little bit. LeBron had 20. Yeah, LeBron had 29, 9, and 8 that game. It was one game I was thinking about. What was the game LeBron dropped 40 recently? Who did they play? I'm trying to think of who they played. But anyway, I can't remember at this right now. But yeah, we didn't get anything from Danny, Avery Bradley. 3 points from Avery Bradley, 3 points from Danny Green, 4 points from JaVale McGee. So yeah, 29-32 from LeBron and AD. Kyle Kuzma had 16. Dwight had 10 and 7. So, Caruso, actually, his little, I think it was either this game or the other game that I watched, but his 8 minutes was key. He came up and, no, that was against the Pelicans. That's who it was. That's the game I watched too. Okay, I'll cover that as well a little bit. But, yeah, in this game, it was really the AD LeBron show. And yeah, Tatum had 41 that game. That's what I thought. He had 41 that game. Gordon Hayward had 10, 9, and 8, which, well-balanced game, but you expect a little more from him. Jaylen had 20. Jaylen Brown had dropped 20. Marcus Smart had 14. So one of the problems that the Celtics are going to have is that they don't have a solid bench. I think what they're going to have to do, what I would like to see from the Celtics, and I'm not, this is just me putting my word out there. I don't want the Celtics to succeed, honestly, because I'm a Lakers fan, so obviously I got to go against the Celtics. But I do like Jayson Tatum a lot. I do like Jaylen Brown. I do like Kemba, of course, Charlotte native. I do like a lot of their players, so I pay attention. But what I would do if I was Brad Stevens, and I'm not nearly as smart as Brad Stevens, I'm not attempting to say that I am, but I would bring Gordon Hayward off the bench. That's just me. I think Gordon Hayward should be coming off the bench to give them some offensive push in those times where Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown needs to get rest. I think that Gordon Hayward needs to come off the bench. And now I know that Danny Ainge isn't going to like that. I know that the Celtics community isn't going to like that because it's like, yo, we bringing a max player off the bench. But hear me out. I think if they're going to be successful, because they're going to end up playing a team like Milwaukee, probably in the Eastern Conference Finals, if, the 76ers don't have anything to say about that, which I don't think they will. 76ers probably be knocked out of the second round. But Toronto, I think Toronto could definitely give the Celtics a run. But I think the Celtics can beat them too. And it depends on matchups. It depends on who faces who in the Eastern Conference playoffs. But Gordon Hayward coming off the bench will play that kind of mono role. I know that the Spurs had a pretty deep bench as well in their championship years and really potential championship years. But for Tatum to really flourish, I think it has to be him and Jaylen Brown and Kemba. They hold down the first unit. And then Gordon Hayward, Marcus Smart, Enes Kanter, they kind of hold down the second unit. I don't see any reason why Tatum, Jaylen, and Hayward has to be on the court at the same time at the start of the game. Not saying that they shouldn't, mix up the rotations depending on matchups and how the playoffs go. And maybe Brad Stevens is holding on to that. Maybe he's, thinking about that and holding on to that until the playoffs come. I know Jaylen Brown. I know none of those guys want to come off the bench. Let me say that. I don't. None of those guys want to come off the bench. But I think what would be most fitting, just because Gordon Hayward is not just a scorer too. He's a better creator. He's a better playmaker than Jaylen Brown is. And Marcus Smart can play make, but I would like to see Gordon Hayward with the ball in his hands more, initiating the offense in those moments. So that's just my take on what I think the Celtics should do when it comes to Gordon Hayward and how they facilitate their team, especially when they start matching up with teams like Milwaukee and Toronto. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes and what happens. But the Lakers did pull that game out. They are they're rolling right now. I think they've won 5 straight. So I'm really happy to see the Lakers doing their thing, man. And they're on pace for like 65 wins or something like that. So, it's great to see my team flourishing. And LeBron, AD is really doing their thing. I thought that it was actually going to take them longer to mesh and find that chemistry, but right out the gate they found the chemistry and they've hit the ground running. And I know we've said this, and the media have said this over and over, but gotta give Rob Pelinka a lot of credit for just like the catch-up work. We thought that we was gonna get Kawhi. I kind of never thought we were gonna get Kawhi. I'm just like, yo, that's too much. But to feel like we were gonna get Kawhi and like pretty much, I think on their phone lines they thought it was gonna happen, and then it get spurred at the end of it. And to get guys like Avery Bradley and Danny Green to kind of, eventually getting Dwight Howard, who's played phenomenal this year. I got to give a big shout out to Dwight Howard. His 15 to 20 minutes that he played about every game, he's always up there close to double-digit points, close to double-digit rebounds, gets a block or two, holds down the paint. So, got to give Dwight Howard a lot of credit. He's doing a good job moving his feet, even when he's stuck on the perimeter against perimeter guys. He's played well this year. He's played really well this year. So if we do win a championship, it'll be in large part Dwight Howard. I got to put that out there. It'll be in large part because of him, because he holds it down in the paint, and his solid 15 to 20 minutes is always solid minutes. Kyle Kuzma, we thought that he was going to be traded. I really thought Kyle Kuzma was going to get traded. I really thought that. I'm glad that we did not, because there was talk about trading him for Marcus Morris, I believe. And I'm glad that they did not pull the trigger on that trade. I'm a Kyle Kuzma fan. I like Kyle Kuzma a lot. I root for him. I see that there are times when he does things that are kind of suspect, and I don't mean that in the way of street talk when we talk about suspect, but just on the court, like suspect in his shot selection, suspect in some of his decision making. But he's still like, I don't think people realize like this is still like his third year in the league. So, I don't expect the guy to have it all figured out, and people learn at their own pace. So, to be the third option on a superstar studded team changes things from when you were, for last year where he had a lot more leniency in his, his learning process, and he could kind of shoot whenever he wanted to, especially when LeBron got hurt last year. Then it was kind of like the Kyle Kuzma show. So, now they had to revert back to, hey, I don't have the ball in my hands as much. I don't get to shoot as much. You got to kind of just get in where you fit in. But I like that Kyle Kuzma is always aggressive. I like that he's always aggressive. And we're going to need that. We're going to need that come playoff time. And he's not afraid of the scrutiny, Like, I can already see there's going to be some playoff games where we play where people are going to blame Kyle Kuzma for our loss, and they're going to not give him much credit when he deserves it. I already know that's going to happen. And I'm going to be here to be the one to give him that credit when he deserves that credit. I'm going to be on him when he mess up too. I was about to say another word. I'll be on him when he mess up too, but I am going to give him his rightful credit when he plays well. Like, and I hate that happened to Bosh and Kevin Love. That happens to all LeBron-led teams. The third option never gets the credit. Like, they never get the credit. So, I'm going to be the one to give Kyle Kuzma that rightful credit when he deserves it. So, like I said, very entertaining game between the Celtics and the Lakers. I like what they had to offer. It was a really good game. And LeBron gave Tatum a lot of credit after that game, too. It was really good. And, LeBron hit that go-ahead jumper at the end against Jaylen Brown in the post. He kind of smirked before he even did the fadeaway. But LeBron's really improved his jump shot, man, over the years. He's pretty much a complete player at this point, man. I know he's older now and he's not the defender that he used to be, but he's so complete as a basketball player, man. He can really do it all now. And even the last game against the Pelicans, we saw him catch fire in the third quarter, which I'm gonna go ahead and cover that now. Like, he caught fire in that game when we really needed him too. My God, like I was out watching the first quarter and first half, I was like, man, LeBron is being so passive. And I know he does that a lot. He kind of lets everybody else kind of get off, and then in the second half he tries to catch fire. But he was being a little too passive. I was like, whoa, like hold up, like we were kind of getting down, and he hit like 3 straight threes at a certain point in the third quarter, kind of got us back in that game, and we ended up pulling that one out. But that was also an entertaining game. They made it up to be this Zion versus LeBron matchup, and actually, like LeBron and Zion didn't really match up 1-on-1 at all that game. I don't really recall seeing them like match up at all. Dwight was guarding Zion at certain points. Anthony Davis was guarding Zion at certain points. So it was never really LeBron guarding Zion, but it was a really good game. Zion, that was one of the first games that I've seen this season of Zion in an NBA uniform, and man, was he impressive. Just a phenomenal athlete, as we all know. Just relentless on the boards. Pretty solid defender. A lot of people don't talk about that, but pretty solid. Just really good player, man. He's gonna be something special. You got to get that weight down though. I think he's like at 300 pounds, man. 6'6", 300 pounds, and jumping like how he can jump. And he's on a minutes restriction right now, but still playing roughly 30 minutes a game. He's been good, man. He's been good. Really good to see. And LeBron had to he had to drop 40 in order for the Lakers to win that game. That's the game where AD wasn't really. I was looking at AD and I was like, "Come on, AD! Like, I need you to be a little better, bro. So not his best games, but we pulled out the win, so that was impressive, and good to see. Um, be on the lookout for the Rockets, man. I'm just like thinking out loud now, kind of going off the rails, but be be on the lookout for the Rockets. I know a lot of people, we don't really know how the small ball thing is going to work. Basically, what they did was they traded their bigs. They traded pretty much all their bigs. Clint Capella's gone. I don't even know who he got traded to, but Clint Capella's gone. They got PJ Tucker running center, 6'7" guy running center. So they fully embraced the small ball philosophy. And I know Mike D'Antoni likes to be the first to do everything. He has that type of ego where he wants to be the first to do everything. If you know anything about me, you know I'm not a big Mike D'Antoni fan. I'm not a fan of his at all. I ain't even gonna sugarcoat it. Like, I'm just not a fan of his. Um, Offensively, I see what he's doing and like what he's trying to do. But we'll see if that works in the playoffs. Like, I mean, it looks good. They're looking really good right now. I'll admit it. Especially when they played the Lakers. I watched some of that game too when they played the Lakers recently. It was right after they made that trade, and they whooped our ass. They whooped our ass. Like, it was really no contest. They beat the Grizzlies up last night, 112 to 140. And we know their philosophy. We know they shoot a lot of threes. We know that, they got a lot of guys who can do a lot of switching now in the perimeter. They gang rebound, and they have two of the best rebounders at guard probably in NBA history in Russell Westbrook and James Harden. So it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see where he's going with that. But we'll see how they match up in the playoffs, especially against teams like the Lakers who have bigs. Um, and in games like AD can't be pushed off the block in games like that. I know he's a more of a slim big, and we talked about that kind of in my sports debate group about how AD, I'm not gonna call him soft, but he comes off as soft in the paint just because he won't pound in the paint. He won't back down and bruise and drop step and just dunk on somebody, or go up with contact and try to finish through contact. Like, he's not that type of guy. He's more of a finesse guy. He'll drop step, but then he'll fade away, or he'll try to take you off the dribble, finish at the rim. We got to remember, like, he was a point guard for most of his basketball career, up until basically college, where he grew 7-8 inches in 1 year, something like that. So he was playing point guard for a lot of his time, playing basketball. He's grown now into like his grown man body, but I still think he needs to hit the weight room a little bit more. Like, he got to hit the weight room so he can finish through contact and avoid some of these injuries that he's known for. He's known to be injury prone. So we'll see how AD performs in the playoffs, but he has me a little shaky, man. I don't know how he's gonna do when it comes to those waning moments in the fourth quarter, and they're trapping LeBron or they're blitzing him. What is AD gonna do? We're gonna see. Um, I got to give a shout out to Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal, first player since Kobe to drop 50 in 2 straight games, killing it with the Wizards. But I know that he's disappointed because his team is not winning, and he has really no one to blame but himself for that. When signing that big contract, I know he thought that he was going to have John Wall probably by now, but even if they had John Wall, they still weren't going to win anything. They were going to be a eighth or seventh seed. They were going to get kicked out of the first or the second round, and what, like, but he chose that path. So um, they did win last night. They did beat Brooklyn. He dropped 30 that game. So hey, Bradley Beal's balling though, and a lot of people say he should have been an All-Star. And one of the reasons why people like Shaq were saying that he shouldn't be an All-Star was because, oh no, I think Shaq was saying that he should have been an All-Star. That's right. Shaq was saying it's an individual award. He should have been an All-Star. And Kenny, Chuck, and Ernie was saying that Bradley shouldn't be an All-Star because his team isn't winning, and they gave it to a guy like Kyle Lowry because he had decent stats, but he also was, instituting and being a big part of a winning team. So, so yeah, that's that. More recent news of what happened, like D'Angelo Russell, who um, was with the Golden State Warriors, now is a Minnesota Timberwolf. He got traded um, to Minnesota, and now Andrew Wiggins is now a Golden State Warrior. A lot of people are saying that Andrew Wiggins is just a trading piece for Giannis in the future. I don't know how much I believe that. I wouldn't take that to the bank. I think Giannis will resign with the Milwaukee Bucks for the Supermax. I don't see him leaving Milwaukee, honestly. But we'll see. We'll see. But when you hearing from me, I'm not hearing anything about Giannis being a Golden State Warrior. Even though him and Steph do have a good relationship, they do have a good rapport. Um, the media is trying to blow this thing up to be on the lookout for Giannis going to the Warriors. I don't think it's happening. Um, you got Dallas, you got Luka balling out, of course. He just came back from injury recently and dropped another triple double. 21 triple doubles in his career already. Dude is just a beast. He is the next Larry Bird, man. I'm saying it here. He's the next Larry Bird, man. Like, I know a lot of people listening to this, especially the old heads, ain't gonna like that. But that man is so Larry Bird esque. Like, he's the remix of Larry Bird. Like, he's the closest thing to Larry Bird. I'll say that. Maybe that will make y'all feel better. But I stand by what I say. Like, that man has a lot of Larry Bird in him. Not just because he's white, but also because he's white. Like, he's white and he has a lot of Larry Bird in his game. Like, a lot of Larry Bird in his game. So a lot of people are thinking that, the Clippers and the Lakers is going to be at the end of the Western Conference Finals. That's going to be the matchup. I think it will be as well. I think the Clippers and Lakers will match up at the end. But I will say this about the Clippers. I'm not sure about their chemistry just because they've only played 7 or 8 games with their full roster. I'll say that again. They've only played 7 or 8 games with their full roster. You can't build chemistry that way. You can't. And so many intricate things need to happen when it comes to playoff teams. When you start playing the best of the best in the NBA, you have to have all your keys correct, defensively and offensively. You gotta know when to switch, when not to switch. You gotta know, when to trap. You gotta know when to set these off-ball screens and things like that on offense. Like, if that's not in order, you know, that could be the difference between winning and losing. That could be the difference between a turnover and a made three. So, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with. They only have we only have about 20 games left, 25 games left in the season. So, I think Paul George just came back off his injury. So we'll see, man. But I think that's gonna be it for today. This was more of a longer episode, but I like these. Like I said before, man, if you made it through the podcast this long, I really appreciate y'all listening. Like, give me some feedback, comment, like, and subscribe on YouTube if you liking what you're hearing. Come back for more and spread the word. Let people know that we here and that we in the Bull City. I'm trying to have the best podcast in North Carolina, really. Best sport podcast in North Carolina. But I also have some new apparel coming out. I got some, t-shirts made. So if you want to purchase those, I'm going to try to drop the link in the description. But also I'm local right now. So I'm just trying to give those out. A lot of the people supporting me right now, a lot of the fans that I have are, friends and family and things of that nature. If you want to support me financially and doing these podcasts full time, you can do that by supporting the brand, by buying a shirt. The shirts are running for $20 right now, $20. They are high quality shirts. I like them. I like the feel of them. Of course, you'll see me rocking them, at some point. I'm not a big social media guy, but, doing this podcast and building my brand kind of forces me to do that. So eventually you will start seeing shirts of me, pictures of me wearing my shirts and promoting my brand. So if you want to support me in that, buy a shirt. Look out for the boy. But like I said, if you enjoy what you're listening to, like, comment, subscribe. Hopefully I'll have some guests up here soon. You know, it's hard to schedule people. I know people be busy, so that's just how it goes. But yeah. Thank you for listening again. This is your boy AB. This is the Unpopular Opinion Sports Podcast. If you want to search for it, it's Unpopular Opinion, all one word, on YouTube, and then Space Sports. And it should be the first thing to pop up if you're looking for it, if you want to subscribe. It should be on other platforms soon as well. I'm still trying to work out the kinks. I'm doing so many different things. But yeah, man, it's all love. I hope y'all have a blessed week and enjoy the rest of your day. And I am out. This is your boy AB.